So for this one, I'm wearing a jacket that Yvonne made for me.
Oh, the fluffy one.
So just to show off her ability to create and everything, complete with the hood, because everything she makes comes with a hood and pockets.
Yes, everything needs hoods.
Yes, that's a necessity in life for her, is hoods and
Yes,
pockets.
everything needs hoods and pockets.
So some other lifetime you were a Jedi. That's what I figure. So
Do the Jedi have pockets? They should.
I would imagine, where do you keep your lightsaber? You can't just have it on your belt.
Right?
You gotta hide it somewhere, so you gotta have a pocket. All right, so we're in chapter 9 here. And of course, John and Carissa and Mike have all headed into the air ducts. And yeah, here we go. This is another part of the arcology we're going on to, though. People are starting to stream into level 48. Many of these people are down from level 53 and are looking for an escape, a simple night of denial over what's really going on here. They don't want to listen when the police force tells them to be wary of things going on around them. They also seem resistant when it's suggested that a large public gathering is not a good idea right now. I wrote this over a decade ago. Just throwing that out there. It is already too late to even try to cancel plans to party tonight, as a riot would likely take place if they clamp down on the sizable portion of the arcology's population who wants to party. Tanya makes her way over to the other officers present. Yeah, no one's listening to me. Any luck? Not a chance, Nathan says. These people want to get drunk, have a good time, and they're already halfway out of their minds. We are so boned on this one. I am way over my head here.
Sounds familiar.
Just stay close to Kristen then and you'll be fine. She's been through this kind of stuff before, Craig says. Well, that was very different to this, Kristen says, shaking her head. I guess that's more experience than anyone else here, but I'm not that much of a hardened veteran with this. I've got cat fur because of Shadow being in my arms for so long, so... So if you watch the live stream, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyone in level 48 listening? Mike voices through the radio. Tanya answers loud and clear. Mike, what's up? You guys need to all stay in level 48. If anything, encourage people from 52nd and 53rd levels to hang out down there. Carissa, John, and I are going to make a move here. I really hope it's the right one. Mike answers. The hell are you planning? Tanya asks. The hair on the back of her neck starting to stand up. Just be careful, stick together, and have a plan, Mike says, not willing to share anything further with the others. Just be careful. You three are gonna sit. You three are all going to sit down and have a beer with me when this is done, Tanya says, looking nervously at the others. Yeah, sure thing, Mike says, and their conversation ends there. Tanya turns to the other officers. Let's assume then that this is where we want everyone to be, and that this is a fantastic idea. Andrew Jenkins' hand. Now, who wants to take this spot and get ready for some fun tonight? Maybe review who's going where first, Craig suggests. Tanya nods and consults her handheld device for the list. Craig and Ryan are manning roller coaster patrols to prevent anyone from hijacking the damn thing. Ben and Nikki will be doing the same with the Ferris wheel and swinging ship controls. They're controlled by the same panel anyway, so this shouldn't be too difficult. Nathan, Kristen, and Catherine will be watching the entrance to the main room here. There are 2 perches I am concerned with high up there. I know they make servicing easier, but they make sniping a lot easier too. It's okay, Pixel. We won't snipe you. See, she does. See, that's the cry when she's being strangled. And she's not being strangled. She pretends she's being strangled, but she's not.
Shadow's in her spot.
I know. Shadow's in her spot just to be a jerk. And throws her completely off.
Make her mad.
Donna and Matt are manning the one furthest from the entrance to the room, while Christina and I scale the ladder onto the one closest to the door. There are 2 in between that, but we can keep them clear with how we'll spread out. How well spread out this should make us. Those of us on the perches need to also watch the air vents and the crowd below for any odd behavior. I know this will be difficult, just on the mere scale of this, but it can be done. Is anyone hazy on what they're doing or where they're going? No one speaks up. They all silently nod and look around at one another, a few of them visibly shaking, and a few others taking deep breaths to calm themselves down. Let's save 500,000 lives, Tanya says, and they head to their positions. So when I was writing this, I had to write down who was with who and where they were going, so that as the story went on, I wouldn't lose track of that. Yeah, because every now and then, it's easy as an author to completely lose track of what you're doing. He was insane. Look at the damage the gun did, John says says to an unconvinced security team of 3 young men, "Look, we're special ops," he says, flashing his badge at them. He hated doing that as it seemed so cheesy. "We're telling you to throw him into a holding cell until the danger is past." There's a random 8 in there. I apologize. Send me your book and I'll fix it. "I met with him 20 minutes ago and he was fine," one member of the team says while the others nod. "Okay, you call Dave Bellows and tell him the situation. Tell him you've blocked my investigation and see what he has to say about that. If he tells you to let Andrew out, let him out. I could care less right now, but right now I am telling the 3 of you what to do here," John says with as much authority as he can manage. The 3 of them drag the still unconscious Andrew Jenkins out of the room. She's determined to take that spot back. The door automatically closing behind them. There's a moment of quiet as the 3 wait to see if they're actually doing what they're told before they feel it's safe to proceed.
She's really mad.
Yeah, because Shadow's coming out to taunt her about it. Shadow, you know that's her bed. Come on, you don't really like the bed. You just don't want her to be in it. Now she's going to come in here and cause all kinds of crap. Nope, Shadow. Knock it off. See, he knows.
Yeah, I'm not.
Because as soon as I move towards him, he leaves the room like, "I wouldn't do nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going over here." All right. And people wonder why there's so many takes on my videos on the hockey channel. Mike removes the covering from over the service passage and looks back at John. "You might have committed career suicide there." John nods. "I might need that job working for your military when it's all said and done. I doubt you'd find dealing with Cale Rightly any more pleasurable than dealing with Bellows. It leaves Dave's heart's usually in the right place, even if his mind isn't. He tries. Rightly's simply a complete coward and a waste of space to me." Mike then looks inside the cramped service passage, which doubles as an air vent for the room. "Coast is clear," he says to John and Carissa as he pulls himself up and into the vent. Once inside, he has to fight the feeling of claustrophobia. These tunnels were meant to be used only for access to certain areas of the ship and not for walking around as they intended to do. He starts to crawl his way to his right, and is hoping he's crawling the right way. That should lead towards the center of the ship. He has no way to know which Altilians might come from until he either comes across one or finds their base of operations, assuming they're using a central location. It's all speculative for him at this point. Even now, cramped and confined, he's kicking himself for not thinking of this earlier. As soon as he knew Altilians were involved, he should have considered this as a possibility. This is an easy way to evade detection. They would not be able to hide among an Earthling population unless they could somehow disguise themselves as humans, so staying out of sight was a key for them. They could not afford to be caught on a security camera on any arcology without risking all-out war. The enemy was smart enough to act as an ally, so they're smart enough to hide when they had the chance. Meanwhile, Carissa's really stuck now. She's in a cramped steel tunnel, which is very dark and very creepy, and Mike's ahead of her and John's behind her. She feels like the air within the vent itself is dry, dusty, and hard to breathe. She knows in the back of her mind the air is probably cleaner than the air inside the rooms as it's pure, but her mind keeps playing tricks with her anyway. John, at the rear of the group, keeps looking over his shoulder behind them. If one of their enemies opted to come up from behind them, they'd clearly have little chance for survival. John has his weapon drawn, but not set to fire, as he doesn't want to have it go off and kill Carissa ahead of him or fire off behind him. He's really not liking the position he's in here, and the sooner they can escape this vent, the better he's going to feel. Mike works his way around a curve, tries not to pay attention to things happening in other rooms as they crawl by. In one, a young couple are having a marital dispute that sounds like it could turn violent. In another, a young woman's talking to herself about how all hope is lost and she'll never be 16 again. If they don't act to save these people, the end game is over, and they will all wind up dead. They have to pass by these distressed people and get to the root cause of their problem. The corridor seems to be shrinking as they make their way down, further and further from their easy exit back into Andrew's quarters. Mike's ready to turn back when he sees the opening he's been looking for. There's a perfectly cut circle on the side of the vent, away from the quarters themselves. That's the point where they're coming in and infecting people on this level. There's no doubt in his mind. Mike stops his forward momentum and signals over his shoulder to Carissa that he's found it. She turns and signals to John while Mike draws his weapon and moves towards the opening. Nothing happens when he looks through it, or even starts pulling himself through the hole and down into the largest service area. His feet hit the steel floor with as little noise as he can manage. He then helps Carissa the rest of the way through before they both help John through. The 3 of them now inside the main service area and where Mike has to have been right, while they are all a little lost. "We should go towards the center of the arcology," Mike says as quietly as he can. "If I'm right, They've set up shop in the main area that runs vertically through the center of this thing. Every arcology is built with the same design, so that makes the most sense. It's a very open area and no one would ever look there. If they're evil, why won't your people go to war with them? Chris asks. Mike nods at that question. I've been asking myself that for years now. I warned them these creatures were capable of this kind of thing and I was ignored. I was called a troublemaker. Told I was worrying over nothing. That's how we ended up where we are right now. They view themselves as the superior creatures in this galaxy, and we are the parasites. The three of them head away from the opening and further past the point of no return. They are far and away from the occupants of this place that if a firefight breaks out, it will be barely audible and ignored by anyone who can hear it. Level 53 has other things to worry about. There's a light ahead of them. This disturbs Mike as there shouldn't be any light ahead of them. This area should be shut down completely. He has his weapon at his side, but now it has to be raised. Seeing him do this causes Carissa and John to do the same. They're both nervous since they can see Mike tensing up with each passing step towards whatever destiny has in store for them. Mike sees movement ahead of them, resists the urge to fire, and give their position away too early. He has no way to know how many Altillians he might be facing here, and taking one out early, which can then alert 100, would be foolish unless it was absolutely necessary. He has no defense, however, when three figures drop from the openings in the service tunnel ceiling and take them all to the ground. Before Mike can curse himself for not looking up, he's out cold and so are the others. That ends all hope for a surprise attack. There you go. And that is where the book finishes.
That would be terrible.
That's the end of the book.
No, keep going.
All right. General Rightly has personally selected these 6 men to go in after Mike Translow and take him out. He has them all dressed in bland earthling garb, and they all know what their assignment is. He's not happy it's come to this point, sending men in to take out one colonel he has tried hard to like out of a situation he doesn't believe they should have been in. To want to blame this on allies was a bad move for Mike, and now it has come to this. He just has to accept this and do the right things for everyone, something Mike lost his ability or willingness to do. Men, today I send you through a wormhole to the arcology where Mike Translow is being housed. I have set this to deliver you to the point which will be unoccupied. Going over arcology blueprints, it appears these areas are accessible, have breathable air, but people who live there don't go there often. Now, you all have weapons, they're armed to kill, but this is a worst case scenario. All I want you to do is go there, get them, and come home. I don't want any heroics. Outside of that, as I have decided the entire arcology violence issue needs to be addressed at a later time. Mike has tainted this project to the point where it needs to be gone over once again from scratch. One of the men raises his hand. If this is just a mission where we're going to get him back here, why are you sending 6 of us with weapons that could vaporize people? Rightly smirks. Hey, I have to be prepared. In the event that Mike resists violently, you have the authority to use whatever means necessary to bring him home or take him down. I am not shooting Mike Translow, one of the men says adamantly. That man is a hero to this world and the people of Altair as well. He's a sham. He thinks our allies from Altair are responsible for what's happening in Earth's orbit, Rightly says, barely able to contain his rage. If he's right, another man interrupts, and we find Altillians there, who are up to some kind of BS, can we fire on them? Rightly scowls. I'm not starting a war. Well, with all due respect, General, if those creatures are simply systematically killing people from our sister planet, they'd already put us at war since Earth can't defend itself. If we can help them, morally we have to do so. Rightly wants to kick something. He wants to scream. This is a simple task. Go get Mike and come back and take him down if necessary to avoid the potential war with Altil. He doesn't see the need for this debate right now. There is so much more at stake here, and going over different scenarios just wastes time. You know what? If Altillians are these monsters and they're killing people, torturing people, and you can prove it, fire away. If that's what you go in there looking for, prepare to be sadly disappointed. They're kind and General Rightly's speech is cut off as an alarm sounds. We're under attack? That can't be. A young officer rushes down the hall as explosions start to rock the building. Glass shattering can be heard in every direction. General, we have a mutiny on our hands. Rightly narrows his eyes. Katie Translow. Sir? The young officer says, confused and not seeing the connection. I want Katie Translow brought to me at once. General Rightly shouts as he walks away from the 6 men who were supposed to be going to Arcology 1237 to bring Mike back. They all look at one another and shrug, uncertain what they're being asked to do now. They knew the unstable general better than to ask him if they should change into their battle gear and defend this place. They just had to wait here until it was their time to go. Meanwhile, the explosions just keep getting more frequent and louder. So, not killing him. That's it. It's the end of the book.
Keep going.
Just ends with everybody shooting stuff.
That would
It's
be a terrible ending.
the shooty pew pew book.
Pew pew.
All right, so first scene from chapter 10. We're into chapter 10. We're up to page 86/87 here. We're getting closer to the end of the book. And you can see that General Rightly doesn't really have the full faith and subservience of his troops, because they know that Mike's a good person, and if Mike thinks there's a problem, there may very well be a problem. Mike is slow to wake. All he can see is shapes, blurry lights, and a foul stench in the air he hasn't smelled in some time. He's very mad at himself. This was all thought out. He didn't bother to look up. Such a simple rookie mistake on his part, and now he could die. They had been taken down, and Mike didn't know if he was the only one left alive or not. He didn't know how wrong he'd been, and whether or not he was even still in the arcology. Gradually, his vision clears, and he sees he's still on the arcology. There's about a dozen Altilians milling about. 2 are in lab coats, which is the first time Mike's seen them in any job other than as killing machines. He's pretty sure that their doctors or lab assistants were probably killing machines as well, if you look into their work and research. The entire service elevator has a lattice work attached to it of Altilian design, various stages and ladders in place to give them access to any level that they wished while making as little noise as possible. The center area is larger than Mike had expected, big enough to house small ships, which reside within the bowels of the arcology. There are 2 Altilian fighter ships, docked about 10 levels below where Mike was being kept. They were of the stealth variety, which would have no trouble evading Earth's primitive radar technology. They were set up in such a fashion to be efficient, and yet could be destroyed within minutes if need be without leaving any trace behind that they had been there. And they would have been small enough to fit into the various ways of accessing that middle part, which I didn't get into in this, and I apologize, but I'm letting you know. They would be small, not very big. With fighters, I knew that the big bulky kind, that wouldn't be efficient. You'd want something smaller, faster, and something that you would have a hard time seeing. As Mike looks around him with clearer vision, he sees John and Carissa. Seeing them tells him what's going on with them. They're being held in place by an Altilian medical device, which freezes the limbs of intended subjects and numbs them while it remains active. It's usually used by doctors performing surgery and has been adopted by Falteris for this purpose. Mike's allies can't flee and can't resist any Altilian treatments. These devices were used on Altair for horrible scientific experiments from the date of the Altilian invasion until now. He had been told by Altarian resistance fighters, and it sickened him then to imagine them. His heart sinks when he sees them in vivid color now. He has to think faster. They'll all become twisted medical experiments in the hands of these beasts. Mike can't fathom not being dead. The smart move would have been to kill them, to kill all 3 of them, actually, and to move on. If they felt they were suspected, why not take them all out before they had a chance to talk? Since he's relatively certain he's still alive and not dead in hell, he sees that as a sign there has to be some hope. Now he has to buy some time. He's not sure what buying time will do other than delay the inevitable, but he can't let them succeed when he's this close to taking them down. One Altilian notices Mike has opened his eyes and makes his way over. With a twisted grin on his wrinkled face, says, "Mike Translow, in the flesh." He says in a raspy and horrible voice, "Who might you be, raisin-faced fish man?" Mike asks, mocking the Altilian's appearance. In a way, he doesn't feel as smart, but he can't contain his hatred for these creatures. "Big brave talk from a man who's about to die," the Altilian says before taking a step back. "See, you thought you would creep into a temporary home here and rat us out. You think you, Mike Translow, are smarter than I, a military genius? Yeah, I still didn't catch your name, jackhole." The Altilian frowns and half his face is eaten within the folds of the skin on his forehead. It's a grim display of the massive difference between human and Altilian. "Sibel, you waste of flesh. I am Sibel, the Altilian general, sent to take out every damned arcology necessary before we finally exterminate Earth and then your world." Falteris. Mike had never considered that they might actually take Falteris out first. It was a possibility, but taking Earth out was safer and the coward's way to do things. That would be right up their cowardly alley. You see, Earth is a planet of parasites, but they're mostly harmless. You get the reference there? Mm-hmm. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Mm-hmm. A little bit of Hitchhiker's Guide reference there. Their weaponry is crude, and they are likely to shoot themselves in the face as they are to inflict harm on others. Fission reactors, nuclear fallout, combustible and non-renewable fuels. They're stuck in the Dark Ages. Falteries, on the other hand, overcame a slow start and now are a major player in the galaxy. That is not something I like to see. That's not something that can be allowed to continue. Right from the first meeting between Geyer and then Falteri's leader, Jack Warden, we knew you were inferior and needed to be dealt with. The invasion of Altair was a matter of them being more dangerous than you. There is an order to that which we do, my friend. You're not advanced. You're mere animals who have big guns. Eventually you'll get what you have coming to you, Mike says. If his limbs were able to move, the Saltillian would be dead on the spot. He's straining every other muscle in his body in an effort to force his limbs into motion. So far, it's been unsuccessful. Sibel smirks. His eyes emerge from under the forehead folds as his anger has subsided. You're a fighter, Mike. You're a thinker. That's why you're not dead. Gora told me to kill you on sight, so you should be thanking me for letting you live this long. Your earthling allies here are alive merely as trinkets to amuse us. The female certainly is spirited, and the male has something different about him genetically. What do you mean? Mike somehow feels the Saltillian might be telling the truth, as there's no reason not to under the circumstances. As far as Sibel is concerned, he's talking to a dead man. John Webster's DNA is different enough from human DNA that our mixture won't work on him. Carissa is one of the ones who was resistant as well. We shot her with the mix a day ago, and she has yet to show any signs of it. This could point to a delayed reaction. We had no patience to find out if that was the case on previous arcologies. It's a shame our weapon isn't 100%, but it's effective enough that it will eradicate your race from the galaxy. It is the way things should be, the way God meant for the galaxy to be. We are genetically superior, intellectually superior, and we do not have the emotional hang-ups you humans do. Your caring for everyone makes you weak. Mike had about enough of being talked down to, time killer or not. Your arrogance makes you weak. When you make a mistake, I'll be there to capitalize on it. Sibel shrugs and then shows Mike a device that's not immediately recognizable. This is the way you primitive beings travel from planet to planet, is it not? While we have ships that allow us to move from one place in the galaxy to another in the blink of an eye, you only have these devices and you transport people in this fashion. Your ships can travel at near the speed of light, but time becomes a factor as it slows down. Your ship races to another planet only to find out a century has passed and we've already raised the population to the ground. Mike knows exactly what Sibel's talking about. Conley. Mike says and his jaw drops. In his history classes, he learned of a distress signal sent in Falteri's direction. Much like Sibel had said, a ship had traveled there at near the speed of light, only to find that due to time slowing on the ship itself, so that's time dilation, a century had passed before their ship actually arrived at its destination. There was no one on the planet left alive and no sign of what or who had wiped it out. It was like nothing ever lived there. Conley was a world which concerned us. They were on the verge of discovering how to travel from point A to point B in an instant. Rumors existed that a few of them had even figured it out and might be able to travel to other worlds. They also had weapons which equaled ours, so we had to take them out before they became a real threat to us. Now, the time has come for us to, once again, do what needs to be done to protect our place in the galaxy. Slaves on Altair will be the only advanced life form in our quadrant outside of my people. We have worked for centuries to become the dominant species, and we will not be stopped by the likes of you. That said, this is distracting me from my main point, Sibel says with a raised index finger on his webbed hand. This device, if used correctly, gives me access to a place of the owner of what the device holds dear. Go to hell, Mike growls. Now, if I press the top button and then the middle one here, it asks me if I want to open a wormhole to take me home. That's odd since it can't know where my home is. Must mean yours. I've done my research, Mike. You have a lovely wife, Katie, do you not? I swear I will tear your heart out through your throat, Mike says. Sibel leans in close enough that his strong, moist breath is exhaled onto Mike's face. Not social distancing. Really not. You will try. I will love seeing you try. And that's where that scene ends. So Sibel and Mike are not friends. And that was the case when I originally wrote those books too when I was a kid. Sibel was the evil leader of Altil, and actually Geyer and Gora were the leader of a different planet. But again, I melded it all together for this one, where I was like, I don't want it to be overly complicated, so we're going to slap them all together and make it work. And you just want to punch the bad guy. At least I did while I was writing. I was like, man, I just want to punch him. Because the idea is, I'm just going to go to your house and visit your wife, which any guy would be like, okay, now you got to die. So there's that. So there you go. We're into chapter 10. My wife's getting bored of it, so I don't know how many more
Whatever.
these videos we're going to have before
such a
she says she's had enough
You're such a brat.
and she tires of it.
Whatever.
So, thank you guys for tuning in.
You're all nice and fuzzy.
Well, you did make the jacket for a reason.
No, and it's so soft. I made it to make you nice and fuzzy. He's soft.
Okay. That's
Nice.
okay. All right then. That's invasive.
Nice.
Okay, social distancing.
Mm.
You're being a bad example to the internet.
See, all fuzzy.
Okay, I think you like the jacket, not me, but okay. What are you doing?
I was fixing your hood. There you go.
Well, I'm going to do the treadmill. I'm not going to be
I know.
wearing this for the treadmill.
I know.
It's not a sweat lodge. It's just a treadmill. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for continuing to watch these as she enjoys me reading these to her. And Shadow enjoys going in and taking her
Being a
spot again.
pest.
Is she already in there?
She was a little bit ago.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, and then he sees I'm watching. He's like, no, I'm not doing nothing. And he backs out. Yeah, coward. That's okay. As soon as I set up the treadmill, he runs away anyways. So he's terrified. He landed on it the one night. It flung him. So ever since it flung him, he's been pretty sure he doesn't want to be on it. So, yeah. All right. There you go. Thank you guys so much once again. Apologize for the lateness, but we did do the live stream tonight, which put everything kind of back. So we won't be this late with it again tomorrow, which is, of course, Saturday. So that's
Is it really?
live stream on the main channel
Hockey
for the hockey video game.
NHL 20.
And yeah, so we'll see how that goes, and fingers crossed that everything goes well. Thank you again for your continued support. We will get through this. It will happen. Focusing on numbers will drive you insane, so just focus on how many days it's been, and as long as we're all doing our part, we're keeping ourselves safe and keeping people safe that we care about. So that's the important thing right now. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.